But look at this, vaping. Are you annoyed by vaping, by people vaping near you? It's pretty strong stuff. Report in The Australian today, which is a bit scary. It looks at a study from Woodcock Institute of Medical Research and the so-called effects of third-hand vape smoke. I'll read you the first line from The Australian. Vape residue left on clothes and surfaces poses a greater health risk than cigarette residue and can cause serious lung disease, a study has found. Children most likely to be affected. Now, I reckon vaping, like smoking, is all about good manners. You don't smoke near people. You don't vape near people. If you're a vapor, what are the protocols? Do you smoke at home? Do you go outside to smoke? Do you wash your hands? Do you keep it away from the kids? Do you vape in the car? What are the protocols? 133 693. On the line, Dr. Colin Mendelsohn, retired GP, now an academic and researcher. One of the research areas is tobacco cessation, and he's founding chair of the Australian Tobacco Harm Reduction Association. Dr. Mendelsohn, good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
You'd dispute this, would you, the study?
Look, it's an alarming headline. But what they don't say in this newspaper story is that the findings were in mice. And the changes that we see in mice are often very different to those in humans. And mice are a very poor predictor of harm to humans. So mice are more sensitive to nicotine. They have a different biology. They're often exposed to much higher levels of these chemicals. And to draw serious conclusions about harm to human health from this study is quite inappropriate, I think.
Does it at least say we should study the effects of the vape residue more?
Look, there is some evidence that smoke residue may be harmful. Residue from vapour is likely to be substantially less harmful because, smoke contains 7,000 chemicals in high doses. Vapour typically has about 100 to 150 chemicals in very small doses. So, yes, of course, any exposure to chemicals is not a good thing, and we should be aware of that. But I think the important thing is that the comparison with smoking is that vaping is far less harmful. And in this study, they actually did no comparison to show the difference between the exposure from vapour to smoking. And they've made the conclusion that vapour exposure on third-hand, in the third-hand form, which is on furniture, for example, where it deposits, is more harmful than smoking. Well, I'm not sure how they can say that without actually making the comparison.
What about walking through vape smoke or whatever it is? And that happens occasionally around in the street. Somebody's vaping, you walk through it, and it smells strongly, of course. Is there any study that's been done that tells us whether that is likely to affect you as second-hand smoke, passive smoking?
Look, there have been quite a few studies, and the conclusions from the Royal College of Physicians in the UK and Public Health England are that there is so far no evidence of any harm. Now, people are exposed to low doses of chemicals, but the good thing about vapour is that 90% of what the vapour takes in is absorbed and kept within the body. So that's very little to actually release. And also, with smoking, about 85% of what's in the air is released from the burning tip. And there's no release from the burning tip of a vape. So there are actually very low levels of chemicals. Now, that's obviously, as you say, it's about etiquette, really. And I think vapers need to be very conscious of, people have the right to fresh air, and they shouldn't be exposed to these chemicals unless they give permission. But the level of exposure is very low.
Vaping's not benign, though, is it? I mean, we're getting many reports now of kids getting quite sick doing it.
Well, the vaping, look, it's not risk-free, and it's an adult quitting aid for adults who are otherwise smokers. And if you're an adult who is a smoker and you can't quit, switching to vaping is life-saving. It dramatically reduces your risk. But there are small risks for people who are not smokers, and look, there probably are small risks from second-hand vapour. But I think we need to keep it in perspective. It's a huge opportunity for public health if people who smoke can use vaping to quit, and it is the most effective quitting aid we've got.
Thank you very much for your time. Dr. Colin Mendelsohn, the chair of the Australian Tobacco Harm Reduction Association. He's been an advocate of vaping for the reasons he just explained for some time, but he's also said many times don't do either. Don't smoke or vape, but vape for the reasons he described he sees as preferable. Okay.